325 games he played for the Hammers. He scored 65 goals. Me, West Ham, and a passion for the shirt. Yeah, of course, I'm talking about Julian Dicks, who, quite coincidentally, has a book out about his time at West Ham. Hammer Time. It's out today. Couldn't be a better time, Julian, to launch your book, could it? Have you come back down from the ceiling yet?
No, to be fair, I watched the game last night at the Indigo Bar at the O2, and there was 2,500 fans there, and it was an incredible night, especially when the goals went in and all the beers went flying. It was an incredible feeling, and for the boys to win it in the last couple of minutes was a great feeling.
Could you believe it's been so long, 40 plus years since the last trophy?
I can, because it's West Ham. Is, like I said, from the day I went there, it was like a yo-yo club, and to be fair, it still is. But it has been a long time coming. I mean, the season hasn't been great in the Premiership, but it's given the fans something to look forward to before yesterday's game, and for the boys to win it is incredible. Yeah.
When you were watching it last night, Simon, when Fiorentina equalised, did you fear the worst? Because I did.
Yeah, I did, because they responded so quickly, and it was seemingly with so much consummate ease that they turned up the gear. For about a minute afterwards, you looked like West Ham were going to go back further into ascendancy, and then they turned up a gear. They went up a gear for Fiorentina and scored a goal quite simply. So I thought, the balance of probability doesn't look good here. But West Ham regained their composure, didn't they?
They did, and they're so deserving of this great trophy, and it is a great trophy. Julian, a lot of people on social media this morning saying, "Oh, come on, the Europa Conference League." No, it's a European trophy, right?
It is, and the closest, like when we played, it was called the Anglo-Italian Cup, and the games up to that were a pain. You know what I mean? You didn't want to play them, but once you get to the semis in the final, obviously you want to play in the final. Yeah. And it's great. Like I said, it's maybe the Conference Europa League final, but it's still a cup final, and West Ham won it. So it's a great feeling.
Julian, I'm looking forward to reading this. What does this club mean to you? This is your club, right?
Yeah, it's my club, yeah. Not Mr. Sullivan's, it's my club.
Not Mr. Sullivan's, it's your club.
I left Birmingham to go to West Ham, and I met John Lyle when I was 19 years old, and John signed me. So he come all the way down from where he lived to Birmingham with the chief scout, Eddie Bailey, and just sat in an office with me and said, right, we're going to give you this, this and this. You've got 5 minutes to think about it. So I went 5 minutes. He said, yeah, 5 minutes. So I went to ring my missus at the time. Phone was engaged, so I come back in and said to Mr. Lyle, I said that I'd love to sign for West Ham. He went, I know you would. He said, so, and that was it. I mean, John was an incredible person. He used to pick me up from the hotel I was staying in, take me to training, take me back. The man couldn't do enough for you. And I remember my first game against Everton, and I elbowed Trevor Stevens, and from that moment, that was my life from West Ham. That it clicked then, and it was Upton Park is the best place in the world to play football for me, in my opinion. It was an incredible place. Yeah,
I mean, the West Ham fans took to you, not just because you could dish it out. This guy could play, Simon, right? I mean, you had ability. In some ways, do you feel that your hard man image kind of overshone the ability side of you? Because you could play, Julian.
For certain people, maybe people at the FA, it did. And maybe people for England, it did. But I was what I was. I was an aggressive player, and I couldn't. I remember Lou Macari coming in trying to take that away from me, and it was never going to happen because it would have affected my game. And like I said, yeah, I was aggressive. Yes, I got sent off many times.
How many times?
9. But I had a great career. I thoroughly enjoyed my time. Obviously, injuries apart, I thoroughly enjoyed my time.
Yeah. So let's bring it up to date then. Yeah, Sullivan's been speaking to us this morning on this show. David Moyes, the job he's done, they showed faith in him, and Moyes has repaid that faith, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, there was not so long ago that he was up for the sack and everything else. And I remember I've done a Q&A not so long ago. And there has to come a time that you cannot keep blaming the managers. You can't keep blaming the managers. Like I said, I was at Watford. I mean, they sack people for fun. But you cannot keep blaming the managers. Players have to take responsibility for how they play. And like I said, we all have bad games. We all make mistakes. That's a part of life.
Sure.
And a part of football. But there's no excuses for players not to give 100% every single game.
That's music to your ears, isn't it?
Every single game.
Well, it is and it isn't to some extent, because I will always be in that camp. But players are the charges of the manager. So if a player feels that he's got an innate ability or the right not to give his best, then in the end, that is the responsibility of the manager. So I believe that everyone should be. If you're doing well, everyone should get the plaudits. That means owner, that means manager, that means players.
Yeah.
If you're doing badly, everybody should get the same treatment. But it doesn't work that way. Managers get binned because they're the easier path of resistance because players are under contracts. But in the end, if someone doesn't do their job, then it has to be the responsibility of the manager. If people can't be bothered and don't lift a leg, who allowed them to do that?
I agree with you, and you can drop the players. But at the end of the day, as a footballer, you shouldn't need a manager to say, listen, you've got to do better. Listen, you have to work harder. That should not be the case. For me, every single game, you should give the best you can and you should give 100%. Whether you like the manager or not. Listen, I played for managers that I didn't like. My attitude never changed. Mine was
But then
always...
you'd never have inspirational characters, would you? You'd never have people that motivate, because if you're suggesting that everybody is self-motivated, then you'd never need anybody to inspire you.
No, but sometimes you have to go and put your arm around people. Harry Redknapp was magnificent at that.
Sure.
Harry was superb. And there were some players that he put his arm around and said, listen, we need more for him today. Just like to G up. He never done that to me. He never, whether he liked me or not, I don't know. But he never done that to me because he didn't have to. My game was, listen, every game, bang, 100%.
You knew what you were bringing. Is it true your pre-match routine, you sat in the bath with nothing but your football boots on 20 minutes before kickoff?
Yeah, I never used to warm up. I used to sit in like the individual baths. I used to put my boots on because they were proper leather boots then, so they used to mould to my feet. I used to wear them a size too small, so they would stretch a little bit with 2 cans of Coke and a Mars bar. And that was my warm-up.
Did you really drink Jack Daniel's whiskey and smoke cigarettes the night before a game?
Yeah.
Julian,
Yeah.
I'm loving this. What did Gaza do to you? You get pranked by Gaza.
He done many.
What's the worst thing he did?
Many things. We were playing... I got called up for the under-21s and Gaza was in the squad and Dave Sexton was the manager. And Dave Sexton put us all in a circle and went, who wants to share with Gaza? No one put their hand up. So I was new. I went, I'll share with him. So I shared with him. And it's the worst thing I could have done. One, because he don't sleep. The amount of times he used to wake up and put his backside on my face, it was, like, he was nuts. But there was one. It was we were in Toulon in France. We're playing in a tournament, and I was sharing a room with him. And as I said, he don't sleep. So what he done, I'm asleep. He went and put 20 firecrackers around the toilet seat, and he lit them. Got back in bed, and obviously the one went off, and then it set them all off. And I thought it was a bomb. So I'm in bed naked. So I've got up and I've ran out the door. So everybody could hear it because the firecrackers were so loud, and everybody could hear it. So I'm out on the corridor with my hands covering myself. But there was Dave Sexton, there was the directors, obviously most of the players right there.
Lovely.
And Gaza was behind me at the door laughing his head off. But I got in trouble. For that, and not him.
He dropped you right in it.
But he was a
love it.
top man, Paul Gascoigne.
He was indeed. Is it true you were branded an animal by former Tory minister, I think it's a Chelsea fan, David Mellor?
Yeah, that was
An
that was the John Spencer incident. It was on Sky.
I remember it. Yeah.
And
yeah.
like I said, no one believes me, but it was an accident. I mean, the only person that believes me was John Spencer. So, and yeah, he got people to ring into his radio show, and he was calling me an animal, and he was getting everybody to basically have a go at me.
Listen, Julian, in the short time we've got left, hammer time, and it is hammer time because it's West Ham's day, undeniably. What's this club? What if you to sum up what West Ham United means to the man in the street, to the women in the street that want to support a really good club, and they go for West Ham? What does West Ham conjure up in your mind?
To me, is a club that's... I mean, obviously, a lot of kids now support your Man Cities because they're going to win trophies and things like that. But once, like, you support West Ham, you go and watch one game and you support them forevermore because they bring everything out. But for me, I'm talking from Upton Park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, not the Olympic Stadium, but I mean the fans were incredible. But I played for Birmingham against West Ham when I was 17, and it was the worst place to play football in the world for an opposing player. It was scary.
Yeah.
But when you play there and they like you, it's the best place in the world.
I bet you're proud as punch to have played for them on a day like today.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and I miss it every day.
Julian, it's been brilliant having you. Julian Dicks, Hammer Time, me, West Ham, and a passion for the shirt. I'm going to get in about that later on. Julian, brilliant to see you today.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.